Yeah, what is going on, everybody? I had to hit y'all with that because I actually had a couple people reach out to me and say, "Oh, you didn't do your normal intro," so I had to bring it back. I apologize. It is here to stay. This is your host Rob, back with another episode of From My Experience podcast, and I am excited. This episode is actually kind of near and dear to my heart because it makes me feel like, I don't know, it's just like it adds like an establishment factor when you have like a staple guest. Like when you have that guest that is just like, yo, you need to come on the show like 4 times a year type deal. Like, and this is a very special person near and dear to my heart. But y'all will hear from this person in a bit. I want to thank you, yes, you, our listeners, our subscribers, our followers. If you are following the Instagram at FME_podcast, if you are in the Facebook group From My Experience podcast, and if you have liked the Facebook page From My Experience podcast, and even some of you actually over the last couple of weeks have started following me personally, complete, spelled with a K, _vision. I appreciate all of you. We appreciate all of you. We love you and we thank you for your continued support. I am not alone today. I have the co-host with the most, who is always vibrating higher, Miss Jessica Fountain, aka J4. Hello, Queen. How art thou?
Hello, how are you? I'm doing very well.
You are
I
doing very well.
I am. I mean, my week was uh ups and downs, but overall, like it just wrapped very well, and I closed the deal, and it just feels good. Like it's always good when you can end on a win. So that's the goal.
I couldn't agree with you more. This has been a very enlightening week for me, a very weird week. I'm hoping to reestablish my sleep pattern, hopefully. And I definitely also had some victories. So I guess we are sharing that energy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest this episode. She is an innovator. She is a creator, and she fixed my life.
You're so
No,
dramatic.
she definitely helped me at, like, she really, like, I'll never forget her. She'll always hold a special place in my heart because she definitely helped me shift my life into a brand new direction, and she helped me not only professionally but personally just shift and transition, and things have been looking up ever since. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have, oh, I can't even, career branding expert and the founder of National Black Man Day. Did y'all hear that? The founder of National Black Man Day, Dr. Ashley Dash. Woo!
Woo! I'm super excited. Yay!
Welcome
Welcome,
back.
welcome
Thank
back.
you. I'm
Welcome back.
super excited. Oh
My first
yes.
time with you, but welcome back.
First time, but yes, I've been here before, but it's nice meeting you. I'm super excited. I'm elated. It's my new word. I feel like I use excited all the time. I'm elated.
You bring
Yes.
me back to my English days when I was teaching English. Elated. I like it.
Elated.
How have you been? How have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy. But it's been good. A lot of things happening in the world. So just trying to, live every single day, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. I also need to give you some flowers for get get me into Clubhouse. That was funny. That y'all listen. This is why I love her so much. I don't know what I was doing. I was up a stupid time of the night, and I'd heard about Clubhouse, but I never messed with it. And I messed with Clubhouse, and I didn't realize it was invite only. So it was like, oh, you're on the list, and I said, oh, how dare you? And then like maybe 10 minutes later, I get a Facebook message from Ashley like, "Hey, you want me to let you in Clubhouse?" Yeah. And then we had a conversation, and I felt like I need to get my shit together all over again. Uh,
We're not gonna talk about that right now because everybody has their own private conversations. But yes, I was on Clubhouse. I was invited, not super early, but a little bit earlier, at least some people that I knew. So I do have invitations, but I don't like publicly share them
mm-hmm,
because your content is curated based on who you're connected to and like and what they do.
mm-hmm.
So when someone I know says something, oh, I want to be on Clubhouse, then I do like a little private, so you need some help? I got you if you need it. If not, I just dip back out.
Yeah, I've only sent out to one of my co-hosts and one to a near and dear friend that I do podcast stuff with, for that exact reason you just said. I want that to be. I want to connect with new people and do new things on there. I don't need it to be a
Right.
repeat of Facebook and Instagram and all these other things. No, I don't need that. But
Exactly.
this
I'm
is
sorry in advance because I feel I feel like he throws that out casually with
don't
the
do it.
fact that he invited me, but because I have an Android, it's not on Android yet, and he wasted his invitation. And I think he
No,
like it's a sensitive spot.
it's not. It's not because you can use your iPad. I'm gonna put that on our agenda for our next huddle because you can use your
Okay,
iPad to do it. But no, I
okay,
don't think
we're
it's
doing it.
wasted. It's sitting out there. But
Amen. I'm ready whenever the universe is ready to receive me in Clubhouse. They're keeping me on the list.
oh, go Clubhouse. Anyway, we have more important and more engaging things to speak about. Um, mm, Dr. Dash, question for you.
Yes. Yes.
You've already hosted your first National Black Man Day. You undertook
Yes.
the event. It happened. It is part of your legacy. How are you feeling about that? What are some of the reflective thoughts that you have?
Um, the first thought I had was, oh my gosh, I was exhausted. So I was exhausted. Um, because I did a lot of that stuff. I'm not gonna say by myself because I definitely had, people who just jumped in to volunteer. Like once they heard the vision, they learned that I wanted to create 5,000, safe spaces for 5,000 Black men. They kind of just raised their hand and said, "I'm down for the cause." So to be honest, it was a thought in my brain in like May, and then August we were all like it was the celebration, right? So there was lots of craziness that happened in between then, and then I'm in Japan, but all of the guests, every single person was in the United States, and it was an all day conference. So I stayed up overnight. So I stayed up, from like, like 12, 11 p.m. till like 6 a.m. the next morning live to be with everyone, to interact, to engage. So I was exhausted. I was
Wow.
tapped out, okay, to be perfectly honest. But when I woke up, I was like, holy crap, I did that. Like that's amazing. Um, it to be honest, it doesn't really seem real until I go back and look at like the page. I go back, listen to the recordings, and I go back and like I'm still hearing from people. It's just it's amazing. It's just phenomenal. I really can't wrap my brain around it that it actually happened and so many people were involved and supportive, and it was just amazing. Like it's just crazy to me, and I love it.
I, lo-
Absolutely love it.
I love it, and thank you again for creating a safe space for us. That was one of the most engaging conversations I ever had. And I did, you just mentioned that you were up over. I forgot about the time difference. So you were, wow, that was a different level of dedication. Thank you once again.
No problem. It was like my pleasure, to be perfectly honest. But I definitely felt it afterwards. Like after adrenaline kind of calmed down,
Yeah.
after everything was over, I was done. I was totally done.
That's a real space to be in when you achieve like big milestones and it all settles, like all the dust settles, all the emotions of like the hard work, and you can feel the race that you kind of are in internally, like the process of it. It
Right.
all just settles in your bones, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So kudos to such a big feat, because Rob said it before we started recording, but I don't know anyone that has a national holiday that created a national holiday and created a legacy like that.
Hmm.
So, congratulations on daring to think of something and that doesn't exist, and to say I want to do that, and I want to like really make that a permanent fixture. So, congrats.
Like I said, it's a pleasure. I tell people all the time, it's not really the thought, to be honest, and maybe this, I'll get in trouble for this, but I'll take it, right? I'm used to getting in trouble. It's not the thought that actually is, I feel like, revolutionary, right? Because I think maybe other people have had the thoughts, because lots of
Right.
thoughts that exist, it's the action behind it that actually makes a
Right.
difference. Like, I'm pretty sure other people have thought, like, why isn't there a certain insert holiday, or why isn't there a, XYZ? But it's like taking it to the next level, taking it to the next step is what I specialize in terms of helping, particularly Black men, do what they do and do what they love. Like, I want you to have the thought. That's the first step,
Right.
right? But like, that's the easiest step. Having the thought is the easiest step, right?
Right.
It's like getting to the work is to actually making it happen. That's where like the push and pull and resistance and life kind of happens in that space.
Right.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people get lost. And I'm so past the whole conversation stage with people now. It's just like, okay, that sounds good. What are we gonna do? Like, let's
Exactly.
let's take some actionable steps. Okay, outside of National Black Man Day, what else has been going on with you since then? I mean, you, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. I'm not gonna speak for
Uh,
you.
so there's actually been a lot of different things happening. Um, but as a result of, you know, National Black Day, there was a lot of effort. And then kind of like we had this crescendo and then kind of like coming down. I realized that I was actually doing the most. I was doing a lot, in the last several years, not just last year. And in the midst of COVID, the word that I got for this year was mindfulness. So I've really been focused on being mindful and taking on projects that have a really, really purpose filled intention that are not just profitable, but like, to be honest, give my heart joy. And I feel like to make a difference for the future, right? Because I'm a money girl. I say that all the time. The money's gonna come, so I'm not worried about the money. It's something I say all the time. When I worry about the money, that's when my money gets real tight. When I say, hey, everything's good, money comes in, checks come in, I got money in the mail. You know what I'm saying? So I don't worry about the money. So now I'm really focused on what I call more passion projects, because I know in the
Nice.
future they'll make a difference and they'll make money, right? So that's what I'm working on. So two things actually in particular. One thing I actually had a conversation around, which I think is really important. I love Black men, but I'm a Black woman. So I think there's something to be said for that space. So I'm actually in the middle of a series called Black Women Need Rest Too, right?
Mm.
And the entire conversation is amazing. First of all, like, it's amazing because everyone so far, each guest has said that as a Black woman, resting and being in a, and being mindful is a revolutionary act. It's a political act because basically on a cellular level in your DNA, you weren't designed and created to rest 400 or 500 years ago, based on what happens, in the United States and in the Caribbean areas. Um, so I've really been in this space of ask, because I don't have the answers, to be honest. The reason why we kind of came on this journey is I was up in the middle of the night and I Googled, how do you rest?
Mm.
And when I Googled it, I was like, something about this isn't right. Like, I shouldn't have to Google something that my body should naturally do
Right.
or know how to do. So then I posted a conversation on Facebook about Black women not knowing how to rest. So I started thinking about my mom, my aunts, my cousins, like all the Black women in my family. And no one ever sat down. No one ever, everyone's always busy doing something. And it's very difficult to model something you never saw. My mom was a single parent. So when did she have time to rest? Right? She was working. She was trying to make sure I turned out decent human being, right? Trying to
Right.
put food on the table. So when I made the post, there were so many women of so many different ages that said, "Oh my gosh, me too." And I was like, "Oh, this is a thing." I thought it was just a personal, mental thing, but it was actually a conversation on a wider scale. So then I said, I don't have the answers, but I know some really cool people. Let's go find the answers. So I've been in this journey of talking to Black women, right, and asking them, what does rest look like? What is a toolkit? How do you
Mm.
do it? Where does it come from? And it's been amazing. Like, it's been great. Like, I've just been learning so much, just more about myself. And what I learned today actually was a luxury as a revolutionary act. I'm down for the cause. Like, you don't have to tell me that twice. Okay, I can get my luxury on. If you're telling me I'm making a political statement, right? Because I get to, go to Thailand in the, the nice train, the nice plane with the seat that turns into a bed. Yes, yes. Let me be a revolutionary. I can do that.
Right.
I can 100% do that. Another woman said she was thinking about reparations, like, from a slavery perspective, differently. Like, what does that look like? Looks like you living your best life, right? Looks like you walk in any store buying what you want. And I was like, you know what? I'm all about this. I love this conversation. But that's not what I, was thinking was going to happen when I started talking to these ladies about mindfulness and rest. Now, of course, they have, prayer and meditation and breath work and those things.
Mm-hmm.
But the conversation is so much bigger than I ever thought.
I love it because we do need rest. I mean, 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago? Wednesday, I posted about recharging and the power. Like, you can't keep running on empty. Like, you can't keep um going and going. We are not energizer bunnies. Like, we are human beings that have taken on a mentality. And even, I mean, I can't, it's at this point, it's too many times to count, but me and Rob have had conversations. He's like, have you eaten today?
Yeah.
Like, these moments. And I think I would like to think of myself as a person that is very mindful and intentional about these processes. So I every day I set aside a lunch break, a detailed time for me to eat lunch. But even being a person that puts that time aside, finds myself like, let me just do this thing. I need to send this email. Let me do this. Then I'll use the last 20 minutes. And then that 20 minutes may get turned into someone stopping me in the hallway. And now I'm being present and being mindful and engaging with that person, where what happened to my lunch break. And
Right.
it kind of goes back to, there's so many different pockets of rest that we don't take full advantage of, and we feel like we just have to keep going. And you have to, it is revolutionary. You have to be so mindful to say, no, I'm taking a lunch, or I'm, scheduling. I have to put physically on my calendar every Sunday, 7 to 2 p.m. self-care. That should be really a part of, like you said, a natural process.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
for the average Black woman, it's not part of our natural genetic makeup. And so therefore we turn to these, like, this kind of autopilot process, which isn't the best for the goals and the intentions, and all of these, like, glass ceilings that we're trying
Mm-hmm.
to address. And I think that it gets in the way. We don't really realize how much rest plays a part in our goals and our intentions for our life.
And one of the things that was mentioned on one of the conversations, and this applies to Black men too, is that I was like, so we were talking about how, Black people overall just having, dying from stress, right? Because we just have very unique circumstances, anxiety, depression, heart attack, like all of these, to be honest, horrible things. But no one looks like it. Because I was like, you look at Black people, the running joke is Black don't crack. You see a Black person, they
Yeah.
look like 20 years younger, 10 years younger. Like, they don't look their age. That's like the wonderfulness of, of melanin. Now, and I brought that up in a conversation, and one of the speakers was just, she stopped and she was like, I find it fascinating that we have this dissonance between who we are on the inside and what we look like on the outside, right? And that they
Mm.
don't match. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't quite ready to kind of to jump into that conversation, because yes, we look really young, but the inside we're 2-3 times older, and this is why we're
Right.
dying, right?
Right.
Because we're not taking the time to be mindful. Whether you're a Black man or a Black woman, we all need rest. We all need to, I feel like, be a revolutionary. And if you telling me sitting in the tub lighting a candle is a revolutionary act, listen,
Yep.
bring on the war. I'm ready for this
Yep.
revolution. This is the type of revolution I've been waiting on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and y'all need that continued support. I've seen it. I mean, with my mom and with some of my friends, and even in relationships, there's been times where my girlfriend would come home from work and I could just still see her running, and I'm like, "Yo, go take your shower, go sit down. I got dinner. Like, the house is clean, the laundry's done. Like, relax. Like, turn it off. Like, turn like." I had to be there to look at her in the face and say, "Yo, turn it off. You're good. Relax. I can do stuff. I'm functional without you. I love you. Sit
Right.
down. Let me do something for you." You know what I'm saying? You don't owe me for this. I know you're strong, black, beautiful, and independent. I understand this. Sit down. Me too. Let me help you.
Hmm.
Just like I don't know what's up with this eating thing. Like a lot of my homegirls do that. Like when they're really stressed or they're really running, and I have to ask them. Like they get scared. I'm like, "Did you eat?" "Oh, I gotta go." "No, no, 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 no." "Did you eat?" Like, stop. Like just pump the brakes a little bit, because you gotta, if you're gonna go, you want to go at an efficient rate, at an effective rate, and you have to be taking care of yourself at the same time. You're not going to be able to do everything in the 24-hour period. And one of the valuable lessons I learned from real estate and got reintroduced to by Jessica was setting a schedule, having your calendar set up, and sticking to it, and saying, "Hey, look, this is my lunch break. But I have a time slot here. Can we talk then, or can we call then, or how about tomorrow?" Like you have to start taking control over your space and over your time, because if not, everyone's just gonna run through it and they're gonna think it's okay, because no one's thinking about your schedule. The average person isn't thinking about your well-being and if you ate, or are you well rested, because we're always like, "Hey, what's going on?" "Yes, I'm here, I'm present. What's going on?" We don't look like it. Like we try to
You need
keep it running.
set those boundaries. Okay, some people said
Yep.
set those containers. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been a little jarring for people because I've always been so accessible, right? But I'm in a different time zone. I'm in Japan. I'll be trying to help people. I'll be up in the middle of the night. And I was like, actually, this isn't the business. So I shut down my calendar where I'm only available like 2 days out the week. For other people, you need to fit in, right? If you go to my calendar right now, it's probably like full for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like I just can't, right? In order for me to perform at my high, to really work in my purpose, um, I have to create that. And that's something else I'm excited about because, I'm part of this other project called the Make It Matter Project, right? And it's an amazing anthology project by a Black man, of course, right? Because, I'm a Black man champion. Um,
Hey.
and he just kind of had this vision that he wanted to write this book, and then it kind of became bigger, where he actually wanted to have thought leaders talk about what matters to them. And so I have a chapter in the book talking about legacy, like make your legacy matter, right? And what that really looks like. And then he kind of did something different, because I've seen like the book anthology projects, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, they look a little, I don't know. But like he really wants to help, and that's what I saw about his heart. And there's going to be like, an online class where we're going to teach what we talk about in like the book. So like you can read about it, and then you can actually get your pen to paper, because I'm all about action, to take the steps to get things done. And there's also a film component to it that's coming out later this year, where there's going to be a film around this project. So it's like this 3-in-1, where it's really I just really feel like it's gonna make a difference. So my co-authors I've got to meet are amazing. He's great. It's just like I'm so excited to kind of have that project and to be a part of it, and to be able to push it through for National Black Man Day, right? Because again, we have amazing Black authors that's headed by Black men. It's just going to be so great. So I'm super duper excited about that as well.
Oh my gosh. See, that's another thing. You just said something else that is a key to your rest, recharging, setting boundaries. When you do that and you have control over your time, you can make room for new things. You can make room for new opportunities, for new people to enter. And with that refreshed mindset, you can look at things and say, "Hey, do I want to attach myself to this? Let me give it a long, hard look, instead of just, oh, I'm so busy. Let me see this. Oh, it looks good. I'm just gonna do it." That is so, so, so important. That used to be me, man. I used to just take every opportunity, but when I slowed down and started evaluating, much like you, I started hurting some feelings. "Oh, you don't want to work with me? You don't." It's nothing personal, but if it's not conducive to what I'm trying to get done, and I feel like, hey, this is gonna cut into not only my business time but my personal time. If I don't have room for it, I don't have room for it. So,
Boundaries. I love boundaries. Boundaries are great. I'm the
Me
queen of
too.
disrespect when it comes to boundaries. I'd like, no.
Yep.
would you? Oh, oh, no is a complete sentence.
I did say the last one. No is a complete sentence. I'll say no and look at you. No.
Definitely a complete
And
sentence.
I'm here. I approve this message because boundaries are necessary in order to get, I mean, where you want to go. It's not out of malice. It's not, you just have, you know your vision better than anybody else. And I think that you have to be able to put in those detours, like, not right now. Let's do it in 2 weeks. But you know the full scope of where you're going. And so, in order to navigate that in a smooth process where it doesn't overwhelm you, it doesn't cause you to have anxiety, like to place things in a digestible pace. And I think it's really important to do that.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. How has 2021 been treating you?
It's been good and bad. And over really early, but like I spent New Year's in Japan, but I wasn't able to go out, right? So like, because we
Mm.
have like the whole COVID situation, right? So you really can't go out and do what you want to do. But I'm in Japan, so like like you kind of have to balance like the good with the bad. Um, so it's been really good. I have to be honest. I am intensely homesick. This is actually
Mhm.
the longest I've actually ever been away from home. It's going on 18 months, I think, where I haven't stepped foot on
Wow.
U.S. soil. I haven't been able to give my mom a hug. So on that perspective, it's been a little rough because for me, this is just the longest that I've ever been away, but it actually allows me to have more compassion and empathy for people who leave their homes, who don't get a choice, whether they leave or come home, or people who are, chasing their dreams and the kind of sacrifices that come along with it. I never really paid that much attention to it. I come from a military family, um, but like you always like come home, deployment, like what you signed up for, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But at this point, it's a little different when the whole world kind of shuts down, right? That's a different experience.
Yes.
So that's been to be honest, a real place of reflection. But I just feel so incredibly blessed. I have a job that I love. I have people, friends here in Japan. I get to do amazing things and know amazing people and just kind of have this life that, to be honest, I couldn't have dreamed of, to be honest, about 2 years ago. So, like, while there's some things that, okay, I'm homesick, I have an amazing life. So it's like this balance, a very delicate balance that, I walk every single day.
How long is your assignment there? Do you know? Are you nearing the end of it, or is it potentially longer?
Yes and no is how I answer that question. So my original letter was that my assignment will be for 3 years, right? So my assignment won't be long in 3 years, but it was on a year by year basis. So every year they would say yes and I would say yes. We would both agree that I would continue. So last year hit my first year. I'm in my second year, and we have a new leadership. And I had a conversation with him, and they verbally extended me for my third year. So if I say yes and they say yes, we'll sign the paperwork. So I won't actually be done until 2022, August of 2022.
Awesome.
Mm.
I am all about this expat life. Like,
That life.
yes, like I've never done that, but that is something that I am got really close to manifesting. So I love to travel. Travel is like my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um and this past October I had opportunity to host a trip um in Bali, but because of COVID, it was like all a go until like the month before.
Yeah.
At the last minute, Indonesia closed their borders. But so I've been to Japan, but I haven't. It's not an official check mark because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't leave the airport. I don't really count it if I don't leave the airport.
I
So
feel that too. I agree.
I
yeah,
count
I
it.
did. On my in my
Do not
office,
count it.
I have like a cork board, but I bought in the airport, I bought a Japanese sticker. And I'm like, I'm coming back because I just remember flying down in that airport and seeing the trees and thinking, these trees are so different. I don't even know what type of tree this is,
The
but it was
bonsai
like
tree.
this green, like evergreen type tree. It was just so pretty. And I just remember seeing the trees. So that was en route to Cairo. But
Okay.
yeah.
I can't
Japan
join this
is
conversation.
but here's the thing. So let's talk about that,
Whatever.
right? No, let's have that conversation because that's actually one of the reasons why I work in career development and what I call leadership development, right? Exactly for that comment because because I worked in human resources, so I was hearing conversations that other people weren't privy to, right? And I was interacting at higher levels with executives and things like that and having conversations and really get to know these people, right? Because you work with them, you get to know them. And what I was noticing was that like the white, I'm gonna say this in particular because I was in automotive, white males, right? Their experiences, their conversations were totally different, right? They were casually talking about traveling overseas, doing this, being on expat assignments. And for me, that was like a new world. The only people I knew who were traveling were in the military putting their life on the line, right?
Mm.
They weren't doing that. They was business class, first class. Companies were moving them around the world, around the country. I remember really early in my career, I'm not sure if I said this before, but I actually modeled my career after a white man. I said, if I were a white man, what would my career look like, right? And I looked at the white men that were the most successful, at least the people that I knew at work, and they moved. They had a couple of corporate relocations. They had an international assignment, right? When they came back, they were like becoming CEOs and VPs. Like they had certain experiences that most of the black people that I knew didn't have outside the military. So as I started crafting my career, right, I started noticing I need this, I need that. So if you look at my background, I've lived in greater New York City area. I've lived in Silicon Valley. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in Atlanta. I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Currently, I'm in Japan. Like that's what they do. And every time I was moving, I was learning more skills. I was making more money, right? And I remember before I moved to Japan, that was the last like bucket on my list. I was like, in order for me to get to where I want to be and actually teach black men, right, at a higher level, right, to be CEOs of their own companies or to work in Fortune 500 companies, they need to have this, what I call this cultural experience. They need to be able to go overseas outside of just going to like a cruise. You know what I'm saying? Like they need to have this experience where they're in a different country. But I couldn't do that if I hadn't experienced it. My thing is, I'm all about practical application. If I'm going to teach it and talk to you about it, I'm going to test the waters first. I'm going to say, I've done this. So all my clients know I don't ask them to do anything that I haven't done myself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do it. So Japan is like, was my bucket list. And there were so many things I've learned that I can now come back and teach my clients, teach my black men about traveling, not traveling. You say this, you do this, you go here. Like I made a lot of mistakes, but now I can go back and I can teach how this works, right? What does the visa process look like? I've never gotten a visa before, not a business visa. That's totally different from a tourist visa. What's the information that you need to be ready? The background checks, the questions, who you talk to in immigration. Like it's a whole separate system and process
Mm.
that I feel like white men and other people know how to do, or they have, attorneys do for them. My company took care of a lot of things for me, right? And I just asked a lot of questions. I was like, what's this forum for? Who this go to? Why are we doing this? What kind of like I started asking questions because I want to know. Like I don't know this process. I trusted them, but I didn't understand the process. And actually, that's what I do at work. Part of my job in global human resource development is I work with expatriate program. Like I'm part of the person who reviews and writes the policy. So I know what it looks like. So I know what they're looking for, right? So we have a conversation, say, hey, Ashley, I want to relocate. Cool. Where do you want to live? I think Robert's experienced this, right? He didn't experience it on a global scale. But one of the first questions to ask him is, where do you want to live? Right? And now when I say, where do you want to live? It's just not in the United States. It's anywhere in the world because I have that knowledge now. I can get you to where you want to go. Right. But we have to have that conversation. So that's part of like, him saying, I can't participate in this conversation. That's part of the reason why I created National Black Man Day. Like in the future, we going to have a trip somewhere international, right? Not doing that next year, but I just have a vision for what I feel a Black king should have in his toolkit, what he should experience. And international travel is definitely very high on that list.
I love it, and I think so too. I think in there was something that you said about just modeling how you modeled your career off of. Um, I can personally relate to that because it is the exposure that you're seeing. You're seeing people exposed to these other lifestyles that it's almost mind blowing when you compare it to your personal story and you look at like so many people they casually talk about it because they don't even see it as important. It's like that's just
Exactly.
what we do. So they're
Right.
talking about it and exposing you to it, and it's just like, oh really? That's I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I did not know the lingo
Right.
here. But because of the savviness of uh black people and the black woman and the black man, I feel like we are able to absorb. But there's something about our process of taking that information. It's like note to self, like, okay, like you said, what form is that? I'm sorry, what's the name of that form? Okay, and let me jot that down. So I may not know, I just made my mental note, but now I can go back and like actually do the Google research on it and see what this form does, what this form allows, because it might have be dual purpose. It may be one thing for you to operate in a business, but it may have another access for you in your maybe it gives you some type of advantage there. So it's all these different things that when you start diving in it and you are exposed, I think it allows and opens up, like takes off the blinkers off of our perspective, and allows us to see like, wow, this world is a little bit bigger than just the way I see it.
Right.
Facts. I love the
And I
fact
think like,
that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
You're the guest. Go.
Okay. So in saying that, one of the things I was saying that to piggyback off of that, so there's a certain visa. So I have a special visa here in Japan. I didn't know that my visa was special. So I went to a Black Women in Japan conference, right? Where all Black women in Japan kind of come together to kind of create that, inclusivity, right? And everyone kept saying that they had to renew their visa every year. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And it was through these conversations with other Black people, Black women, that I found out I was on a special visa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where my visa, because of my background, because of my experience, because my job did they thing, I have a visa where I don't have to renew every year. So every year there's a number of people that have to go to the immigration office, renew their visa. They may get told yes, they may get told no. If they get told no, they have to go back and leave the country, right? Because it's
Mm.
a visa. My visa is valid for 5 years. I'm
Wow.
like a special Japanese unicorn. I can stay here, legally for 5 years, right? Because of the special type of visa that I have. This visa also allows me to apply for permanent residency sooner, right?
Mm.
So for some people, it takes 5 years. For some people, it takes 3 years. Because of how much money I make, because of the visa that I have, and because of my educational credentials, I can apply for a permanent residency in Japan right now. It takes
Wow.
other people 5, 10 years to do that, right? So this is the importance of asking questions. So let's say Rob says, I want to move to Japan. Okay, we apply for visas. We're gonna find an attorney, right? And we're gonna ask for this particular visa. And I have the name of it. We have the classification. What does he need to have to get this visa? We don't want the other one. We want this one, right?
Mm.
But you have to have that knowledge to be able to do that, right?
Right.
And now that I know it exists, obviously it exists in other countries. So what I'm gonna
Right.
do? I'm gonna jump,
Exactly.
as Rob says, I don't want to move to Japan. I want to move to Indonesia or Singapore or Africa. Well, let's see if they have a specialized visa that gets you perks and benefits, right? And then we go from there. But you have to have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
You just. Oh, man.
Knowledge is power.
You just.
And
It is.
Mm. You just. This is something I preach to people all the time. I don't like being the smartest person in the room because I don't learn anything. I love asking questions and learning from other people. Like, I like being in uncomfortable situations, and I like being in situations where people will pour into me. You know, back to your point earlier about creating safe spaces for black men, some of us, and black men, I'm talking to you, we need to let our guard down a bit and let people know what we don't know. We can't always fear being attacked or looked at a certain way, because if someone thinks that you know something, then they're not going to broach the subject with you. They're not going to talk about it. They're just, I mean, it's going to be on to the next, on to the next. And you're just kind of jumping in and out, making it seem like you know, but you don't know. When that person could have a vital piece of information, like Dr. Dash is talking about to give you. But because you want to put on this facade of I gotta look a certain way, I gotta be a certain way, like let that guard down and say, hey, what's that? No, tell me more. Oh, well, how do I do that? Well, what does this process look like? I did that um not too long ago. I had a conversation about cryptocurrency and how to protect it and stuff like that. I won't get into it, but I learned a lot in like an hour and a half conversation, all because I was vulnerable enough to say, fellas, I don't know about this. Can you tell me more? And they poured into me. So I want to thank both of you for not making me feel like a doof, because I've been to Jamaica. That's it. That's the only time I've left the country. But I want to go to more places. But I also realize that, back to our earlier points again, I need to make space for it. I've never made space for it. Traveling is not as expensive as I thought. I can easily add it into my budget, but with things being the way they are right now, I'm like, I'm good on that. But I'm going to actually focus on going on at least 2 to 3 trips a year now, so I can get that experience, so I can be a bit more worldly, so I can then, taste foods and see people and see places. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of looking at y'all Facebooks and seeing all this stuff, and I'm like, dang, I just went to McDonald's. This mother looking at the pyramids. Like,
First of all, we're gonna stop that one. You gotta like eliminate McDonald's out of the whole equation.
I only get fries from there. That's the only. I don't want to eat anything.
I get
else
their oatmeal and their hash brown.
but I
I'm
can't
not gonna
go.
lie. I get their fries because it reminds me of America.
Yeah,
That's it.
you brought up something I wanted to ask you. So, what have been some of the things you've been doing to take care of yourself with this whole COVID thing, and then you not being able to come home? One of the, I guess, one of the biggest comforts that some people have had is, with the lockdown and with the restrictions, a majority of people were home. Like me. I live by myself, but I have a cousin 15 minutes up the road one way, and I have another one 15 minutes down the road the other way, and I have fraternity brothers scattered all throughout. So I never really felt isolated.
Mm-hmm.
You have met people, you have friends and things, but you're a bit more isolated. You're not quote unquote home. So what are some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that you've done to make sure, okay, let me remain calm. Let me not panic. let me let me not drive myself crazy. How have you been dealing with that?
So I have a therapist. Love her. I have a Black female therapist who specializes in expatriate stress management and anxiety. Right, and she's Southern, so she's from the South, so she gets me. So I talk to her every 2 weeks, to be honest. And initially, I didn't hire her because of the stress of moving. I hired her because during COVID, my grandmother passed away, and I wasn't able to go home for the funeral. So I had to do the whole like virtual funeral thing in Japan. So that was it was rough, right? Um, and I think it was the first time where like I not the it's actually it's not the first time, it's the second time. It's happened before, but this is the second time where in my mind money doesn't mean anything because I had the money to fly home. Like I could have bought a $10,000 ticket and jumped on a plane and gone, and I would have, right, in the blink of an eye. But the borders were closed. It would take like it just didn't. It wouldn't have mattered, right? So that's when I realized, like, money is important, but it's not the most important thing. Like, you can have money and still not have access to things. Now, if I maybe was on a different level of money, maybe some Kardashian money, maybe I could have a private jet, do all the other stuff, right? But still, you have to deal with all of that. So that, to be honest, was the trigger for me to actually get a therapist, is dealing with the grief of my grandmother, not being able to, like, see her, but I had spent a lot of time with her before I transitioned to Japan. She actually bought me some luggage because she was so proud when I told her I was moving to Japan. She was actually in she had been in and out of the hospital, but she was in the rehabilitation center. And we told her I got the job, and she was super excited. And I don't know what she's doing with this, but she pulled out a credit card. How much you want a credit card? But anyway, she had a credit card, and she pulled out her credit card, and she to my mom and I, she said, okay. She said, you make sure you go get you some matching luggage with a warranty because you're going to be traveling. That's what she told me. So the luggage I actually have in Japan is my grandma bought it because she was so excited and proud, that her baby, was moving to Japan, and my grandma had a passport. She didn't really get to use it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel like I'm living out her dreams, but a therapist is one of the things I'm doing. And then with my therapist, I also have a mindset coach who's a friend, and they help me do meditation practices, and I have mindfulness for this year. So I've just been doing those things and doing a lot of online connection. There's a couple of women in the Black Women in Japan group that I've gotten really close to I'm Greek, I'm Sigma Gamma Rho, but there's an AKA. She's not near me,
Mm-hmm.
but she's here in Japan, so we're in the same time zone. So we really developed a connection, and we chat and we laugh and we cut up. So just creating those connections in my time zone have been really beneficial.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to know that you have that because when you were talking earlier, I'm like, how is she dealing with this? Like, I'm an introvert, but it feels good to know that if I needed to or wanted to, I can just drive to South Carolina and see my mom and see my family, or go see somebody. So therapy is definitely important. I'm so glad that that is a conversation that happens in the black community in general. I've had a sample session and that felt awesome. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with that or if I actually really, really need it. Um,
Yes, yes, you need it.
yep,
You're a black man in America, you need therapy.
Yep.
yes, yes.
You mean I think
Sorry.
Wait a minute, double T.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean,
y'all hear the
I'm not
authority in
gonna
my
speak.
Because
voice?
that goes back to the strong black woman. There is so much that we undertake that we have conditioned to just be like that's just part of who I am. Just the same way as I don't eat lunch some days because I'm just going. It that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't.
And
Yeah.
we thrive under. I think that's part of our resilience is that we can thrive under any circumstance. However, it's not the most optimized way of thriving. Like you can walk down the sidewalk and see a whole tree growing out of a crack in the sidewalk, but that's not the most optimized way for a tree to grow. Like it shouldn't have to go through the crack in the sidewalk to grow. Like it
Shouldn't have to break
thrives
concrete. Yeah.
in fertile ground, in being watered and being nurtured. And so like you can have a whole harvest in that. But yes, the tree can grow in the sidewalk because we've seen it. But that I think is a lot of our traumas. There's so many things that we just think are just us, but they're not. They
Can
are
never.
the us that we have coped with situations and we put guards up and we've found space and creative ways to deal with it. So it doesn't mean that you're ape shit like or like just on the deep end. It simply means that there's a fuller, more fulfilling way to live your life that brings you joy and brings you substance and brings you like a sense of clarity and understanding of self that you may not totally be aware of out of survival. And I think
Mm.
for so many black people, we have to shift from surviving to thriving. Like, yes, we can survive. You can be Jay-Z in Marcy Projects and become Jay-Z. But Blue Ivy doesn't have to go through that. Like she can just start living, start out meditating, start out with these things that we at 30 myself, I'm 36, I'm learning like that way of living, like grounding myself. I told my friend today, she was like, "What are you doing?" Laying on the floor grounding. Because that's what I was doing. I'm grounding. I need to be grounded today. Like, and it's always funny because I realize that simple task of just laying on the floor and releasing control and just to lay on the floor, I'll pop up real quick and say, girl, like, or something. Like I have to say something, I have to do something. Cause I simply can't just lay on the floor and let the floor support me.
But,
That's like ah.
but
So
for
yeah.
black men, right? They hear that. Most of my black men, that I'm gonna be honest, most of my clients who are black men hear that and they be like, "No, I'm not doing that. That sounds crazy," right? So I want to remove some of the stigma around therapy and so around some of these spiritual practices,
Yes.
specifically for black men, because they're not down for the cause. Most of the ones that I encounter, they're not there yet. They're like, right? So I want to talk about therapy specifically. Number one, therapy, I don't want you to feel like every time you go to a therapist you're gonna end up crying. Okay, that's not the case. You are in control of your therapy session. Okay, if you don't want to talk about something, guess what, you don't have to talk about that. You don't have to like it is. Therapy is not the stereotypical thing that we see or hear where everybody's always crying. It's now now could it be that moment? Could you need that space? Yes. And if you need that and you feel safe there, then let it out, right? That's number one, but it doesn't have to be that. Maybe you just want to process something. Maybe you just want to hear yourself talk out loud. Maybe you don't get the opportunity to share the way you want to share, and therapy gives you that space to process and share something that happened at work, something that happened at home. It can be whatever you create it to be. It's yours, right? You are in control. So if you don't feel comfortable doing something, you don't have to do it, right? Like that's what I tell my black men who even broach the subject of therapy or even open to it. And I often tell my black men, find a black therapist, find a black male therapist that speak your language, okay? Some of these, there are therapists in all shapes, sizes, and colors, okay? My therapist understands me as a plus size black woman from the South, okay? That's how she understands me. So that's how we get down. So when I talk about church or Christian or whatever, she understands all of that, right? So I encourage black men to find a therapist that you would talk to as a friend. Like they can have doctor titles and things like that, but if you don't roll with him like that, then that's not your therapist. Find your therapist,
Yep.
right? And there's lots of places where those men and women exist, and you can find them a lot easier now than ever before.
Right.
I agree with you.
Sorry.
What,
Sorry, not sorry.
you said, yeah, just told me I need therapy, and Jessica definitely said I'm a tree growing in the crack in the ground. Um,
You're rose in the concrete.
Yes.
I will say this though, I do feel like this type of conversation and just the stigma around it, I wish it didn't exist. Maybe about, I'd say maybe about 5 years ago, maybe 6. I definitely would have went because I was going through a lot more than what I'm going through now. And much like y'all said, I've kind of learned to cope with things. I've learned to let stuff go. I used to hold on to a lot of stuff. Now I've learned to let go of stuff. I've learned to let go of control. I've learned when something is for me, when something isn't for me, not to take everything so personal. So I've worked through a lot of things, and I've kind of gotten to know and love myself a bit better. But I do think that therapy will help me reach that next level. So now I gotta,
Sometimes, you just want to sometimes I just want to verify I'm not crazy, right?
you're not. Wait a
I,
minute. Wait,
no,
what?
I'm gonna be honest with you, right?
That's a real statement. I can relate to that.
When you are the first in your family or the first in your friend group or the first person doing these types of things, no one else is thinking like you're thinking. And if every single person, including your mama who loves you so very much, doesn't understand
Yep.
what's happening, it makes you feel like the outsider. It makes you feel like you're crazy, right?
Right.
When I said I want to create a national holiday, right?
What? How dare
Everybody's
you?
excited now because it happened.
Yeah.
Rob was there. He was facilitating conversation. He thinks it's dope, right? But that's because it happened. What happens when you're the person having the conversation before we get to that point and says, hey, I want you guys to think about this, okay? I want you guys to think back a year or two, like a year ago, whatever, right? Before National Black Men Day was ever a thing, Black Lives Matter was going crazy around the world. People were dying. And for me to have the thought, oh, I want to create a national holiday for Black men. Think about how crazy that sounds based on what we were seeing on TV,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't sound normal.
Nope.
So I have thoughts like that on a variety of things. So my therapist helps me understand that actually that's just part of innovation. That's just part of growth. And if you feel compelled to go with it, then go with it. Right. So sometimes that's what I use therapy for, like to verify that I'm not crazy. Like these thoughts aren't thoughts that other people are having. After I say I'm going to do it and I do it, everybody jumps on. But first you're like, hold up, you want to do what now? Like you
Right.
said earlier, Jessica, I don't even want to create a national holiday. Well, me either. So how we do this? Like,
Right. Right.
How we do this? That's the question. That's the $1,000,000 question.
Yep. And you figure it out, and I think that that's a great point on what, because that's pretty much what my therapy sessions look like. That verification of when there is no sounding board or there's not a lot of people around you that are doing a certain thing, you are now the oddball. And so if it's odd, is it crazy odd? Or
right.
am I sane odd? Am I like
Yo.
what part of odd am I in? And you want clarity. Like I have to preface some things like with my therapist, and she'll ask me like an off the wall question sometimes, and my true response, I always went with my therapy. I'm very brutally honest. And I always preface it with, I don't know if this is a right answer or a wrong answer. I don't know what your textbook says, but this is how I feel. And I feel like that's the only way I'm going to get out of it. What I need is to be that level of authentic, and to say, I really don't know if this is the right answer or the wrong answer, but this is where I am. And this is why. And hopefully your all of your skill set will be able to break that down a little bit and say, okay, you're fine.
Yes.
You're okay. Take a breath, breathe. I have a friend that always says, all right, we're going to pause. We're just going to pause right now.
Pause.
And that's my friend. That's not my therapist. My friend tells me, we're going to pause because you need a timeout in adult life. And I think that's what therapy is. Life is going so fast
That's true.
that if you don't pause and you don't take your own personal time out, my Tuesdays at 12 p.m., don't call me, don't text me. I'm doing something because it is my way to deal with the world.
5 a.m.
Because
one.
yeah, like I mean, some days there's so much being thrown at you, and it's like, where do I fit in this big stratosphere? Like, are my ideas crazy? Is this process crazy? Like, where do I fit when the world is already kind of saying we don't fit as
Right.
black human beings? So whether you're a black man or a black woman, they're already invalidating you in some aspect of the word. And so how do I surpass that thinking and do it in a way that's not out of my ego, out of greed, out of getting to the front of the line fast, just out of money? Like, there comes a point where anybody with money recognizes money is not it. Because you can have money and no access in the example that you just gave. Like, it's not about a check. It's like, it's not possible. It's the time, like, the circumstances don't fit. And so how do you deal with that? Like, that it takes our minds in so many different spins. And I'm always happy to talk about mental health because we are all very much impacted by it. And I think the stigma is always, you're crazy.
Right.
Like,
And
that's not mental health.
that's not mental health. And
Mental
that
health is about thinking in a aligned way. Like, so go ahead. I want you in a
no,
way. And when I say aligned, I mean thinking clearly based off of the circumstances, based off of what's going on, and how you're in internalizing that, and how is everything aligning. What's the full scope? Like, what's the fullest picture that you can, like, push out, and where your feelings align with that picture. So,
see, I can get down
Ashley,
with that.
Dr. Ashley.
So I can get down with that because I'm a thinker by nature, right? And I want to kind of come back to what Rob said in terms of, for Black men, to be honest, it's not really about the thinking part because I have a more masculine energy, when I'm working,
Mhm.
in this space. So it's not for me, it's not about thinking because I'm really good at that. I'm a logical thinker. It's about the feeling of, it's about connecting the feelings, the emotive
Mhm.
part, right? And I don't think Black men have enough space to be emotional human beings, but they're a human being, right?
Yeah.
With a brown face, with melanin, like you need to have emotion. So it's actually in therapy that's helped me connect to my emotions that connect to these amazing projects like National Black Men Day, for me to have empathy and compassion, and for me to bring the experts that I trust together in a room and says, hey, Black men, listen, some of y'all will need some of this information. Some of y'all not going to be down. It's cool. You jump in, jump out where you feel comfortable. I'm going to bring together the experts. You come and get what you need. You can be anonymous. You can share it with the rooftop. But there's clients that will never say my name out loud. And that's the type of relationship that we have. And that's what I call a sacred space we have, that I am their container of safety. I will never, ever sell their information, put them out there, right? What we talk about is for their greater good so that they can be the amazing Black king that they are, and then they can go be successful in the world. Then I have other people like Rob who's like, listen, she the truth. You know what I'm saying? Black men come in a variety of spaces, right? And that's what I want people to know. Therapy for Black men comes in a variety of spaces. So
Mhm.
you can pick and choose what you need because you are in control.
Very well
I be
said.
telling people that all the time. You're controlling. You have the power to choose. I say that all the time. Dr. Dash, I
Yes.
have one last question for you. Then I
Okay.
will let you skedaddle. What if you're allowed to? Well, if you're allowed to say it's yours. Uh, what are some of the things that we can expect to see um, in National Black Man Day 2021?
So I have a team. So I'm not by myself. So there's an
Woo!
executive team now for National Black Men Day. We've already been meeting this year. So that we have so many exciting things. So one thing, I'm not going to reveal the person's name, but we just got commitment from a former NFL player to be a speaker at National Black Men Day this year. So that's pretty freaking exciting. I have to be honest. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Um,
What's the name again?
NFL, like a former NFL player, and
Jessica, you shouldn't have laughed. I almost had her.
you didn't. Um, but so we have that. So we're gonna have some bomb speakers. Of course, we have some partnerships coming. So we're working on some things right now in the background with some organizations, some other people that they've already kind of verbally said yes. So we got to pick the paperwork straight, right? So where I can like announce them. But we have some organizations that are committed and they're excited to join us this year. And we're just gonna do more. So my goal when I talk about National Black Men, I always say the goal is to love, support, appreciate, and celebrate Black men. Like those are four core areas that we work in. So we've launched on our Black Men Day page, um, Melanin Monday, right? So my Black Man Monday. So every Monday we are highlighting a Black man for the entire week. So like we're doing that in terms of appreciation. So we have, of course, we have pastors, we have doctors, we have, you know, actors coming. I'm waiting on one person to finalize something, but we have, and we have what I call, I don't want to say it separately because it sounds bad, but everyday Black man, we're just appreciating, celebrating Black men,
Yes.
right? So we have all these different things that we're working on, and we have what we didn't have last year, to be honest, was processes, because we were just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna make it happen. And to be honest, I love my community, and Rob's part of that community. They just said yes, right? They just said, how can I help? They just raised their hands, right? And they just said yes. And this year we want to do the same thing, but we want to give people the opportunity, right, to participate and support in different ways. So we're creating those containers so that maybe you want to give money. Well, we have a way for you to give money, and for it to be not only just impactful for National Black Man Day, but impactful for the person, right? For their
Mm-hmm.
business, for their community, I want it to be economic empowerment. When I was having conversations in the past, I really want National Black Men Day to be in the future what Christmas and Thanksgiving is, right? It's like the economic
Mm.
starts, you know what I'm saying, of the holiday season. National Black Men Day happens in Black Business Month. I want National Black Men Day to be the holiday that kicks off Black Business Month, right? Where just all these people are making money because it's Black Business Month, right? Like we're gonna start the economic opportunity. So for me, there's so many things that are gonna be coming down the pipeline, so many ideas. So I tell people all the time, go to Black Men Day, right, on Facebook, and like us, right? That would be the first thing you can do, and sign up for the email list, because that's actually the community that already exists. These are the people we're getting ideas from. I say, hey, if there's a speaker that you want, let me know. I know somebody knows somebody who knows them. If you want them, let us know. We have another person who's very interested in sharing. I'm like, so now we're turning around the ideas. Should we have a vendor fair? Maybe, maybe not. So we have all these exciting ideas because we have more time, and we're in this period where the sky is literally the limit. And we've done this before. We know it's powerful. It's already changed lives. So let's just make it the best it can be. And every year it's just going to get better. So I always say August 8th, from now into eternity, National Black Man Day.
It already
Awesome.
feels like Christmas to me. I'm gonna be honest. The way you just ah.
Yes.
Well, I personally like seeing you smile like that, and I think that the amplification of your message, hopefully, our listeners, it radiates to them as well. That they feel a sense of um, connection with that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that they own it the way that you own it, Rob. specifically because it's tailored for you. And I think that that is amazing because I don't think that there's enough safe spaces for people of color on a baseline, but specifically the black man. So
Yeah, and we talk about everything. We kind of go there. Like I said, Rob's been a client of mine, so he's had these conversations personally. So I'm not gonna share them, obviously. But when I talk with him and other men, we talk about everything, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about sex. Like, it's something that people don't want to talk about. Like, sex is very important to a black man, and if he's not getting sex, it's going to impact how he shows up. It's going to impact how much money he makes. It's going to impact a lot of things, and no one wants to have that conversation publicly. Why
yeah,
not? If
right,
you want a black man to succeed, you want to marry a black man, you're raising a black man. Like, if you're trying to buy black men, they need to be whole, right? Spiritually, physically, emotionally, like in all these areas. So my goal is to have the private conversations on a public scale so people can get what they need. No one ever has to know that you came to this conference. No one ever has to know that you listened or talked to the therapist that we recommended at this conference, right? Like, no one has to, that's your private business. I'm just here to create the space, to create the container, right? It's created. You come get what you want, you come get what you need. Okay? That's just my space, and that's what I do it for. Right? Now, when you become successful, I personally know, oh, he was a black man dead. You know what I'm saying? That was dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my brain, I
Yeah.
know that, right? But that's not something I have to share. That's just something in my heart. Like, yes, like, I know that made a difference. I know that he got what he needed. When I see a black father, right? Like, I know that he got the skills, to start his legacy, to put them on a different level. So that's really like my heart's work in that space.
Thank you so very much for creating a safe space for black men. Thank you for letting me be a part of the very first. I was a part of the very first one, y'all. The very first one, I was a part of it. And I cannot wait. And like you said, it's bigger than Christmas to me because this is real, and this is something that is going to change my life. So thank you for all that you have done and all that you will do, both for me personally and just in general. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining
No,
us again.
no, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it, Jessica. It's been a pleasure. I'm so excited to meet you. So,
same
um,
here. It was a
this has
great
been great.
conversation.
Yeah, that's my right hand woman right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode in the books. We love y'all. Thank you so much for listening and continuing to support the show. Make sure you check the description. We will have all of the links that you need so that you can stay abreast of what's going on with National Black Man Day and anything else that Dr. Dash may want to share with you. And you'll see our affiliate links and our social media links there as well. I'm not going to give y'all that whole spiel tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves mentally, physically, financially,
Emotionally and spiritually.
and we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.